my God, those evil bastards. They built a dam. Oh my God, CIA, 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 CIA. Boop, 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 boop. This is a good thing. You worthless American slugs, you slime bags. This is good, you idiots, you stupid pieces of subhuman garbage. God damn it, I hate this country sometimes. What the f is going on with your brains, man? Why is this country so stupid? New York Times just published an article that is almost like if I was trying to make a parody of the New York Times, this is what I would make it. I can't believe it's real. China is solving climate change, but at what cost? This is incredible. Oh, here we go. Here it is. Thank you. What will China's green tech ambitions cost the world? Laos is just one of the emerging markets where China's green tech revolution is installing more than cheap energy. I gotta say that if you are an American nationalist internationally, you are an evil rat fuck. Seriously. The United States of America is nothing but evil outside of our borders. There's not one thing we're doing. Now that we cut like USAID, which was 40% really good shit, 60% really evil shit. Now that we've cut USAID, and what did they cut first? The good shit. We are literally the bad guys. We are the bad guys. There is no redeeming anything. They cut contraception delivery. They cut fucking AIDS medicine delivery. There's nothing that we're doing that's good. Nothing. Zero. We are an evil country now. We're an evil fucking country now. Period. 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 And if you don't think so, you're coping. I don't want that to be true. I know that America doesn't have to be evil. I know that America doesn't have to be a piece of shit country. We could be a good country. On a remote mountain ridge in southeastern Laos, a gigantic white blade emerged from the clouds, seemingly suspended in midair, describing a wind turbine as a plunging blade from the sky. The blade rose to a height of a 50-story building more than 600 feet above a nearby cluster of wooden houses and spun back into the clouds. All American houses are wooden. They're not even wooden. They're fucking like plastic and fiberglass. Another blade followed, then another. The clouds shifted, unveiling a phalanx of giant wind turbines marching down the ridge far into the distance. This was not the first time that some villagers in the district of Dakshuang had seen powerful new technologies materialize in the skies over their isolated homeland. Oh my God, I can't believe China is materializing powerful technologies in the hinterland. Don't they know these people like to have parasites throughout their guts and dirty water? Why are you trying to give these poor people electricity, evil China? More than half a century ago, American warplanes dropped millions of pounds of bombs in this region during the Vietnam War. Brian Kilmeade. Brian Kilmeade is a really bad anchor in Fox News. That was apropos of nothing, but Brian Kilmeade. In Dak Chuang, where most inhabitants are members of the Triang ethnic minority, many huts still stand on stilts fashioned from the shells of American bombs. So in other words, this is an area of extreme poverty that was brutalized by the United States' hegemonic powers. Okay. So the Chinese have come into Laos and they have done the most evil thing you could do, build a wind turbine for green energy. Earlier this year, a tribal elder pointed out with his bamboo cane at the dirt road in front of his village. This is the old Ho Chi Minh Trail, he said, reminiscing about the concealed transportation network built by the North Vietnamese army and targeted by relentless American attacks. The bombs fell like rain. And this is Southeast Asia, so that rains a lot out there. It rains a lot in Southeast Asia. Where once American bombs fell, Chinese wind turbines now rise. Yes, thank God for China. Jesus Christ. I was waxing about this on Friday, but legitimately, if you believe in the human race, like China is our only hope. The United States of America and the billionaires who run our country are trying to bring about a post-human algorithmic like hell where you are hunted by hunter-killer drones, literally. Like, our only hope is that the Chinese win, like, seriously, or we have a revolution. And looking at the state of the left in America, I'm not feeling super optimistic about it. Today, among the same stretch of the Ho Chi Minh Trail, a state-owned Chinese company has just finished constructing what is touted as the largest onshore wind farm in Southeast Asia. 133 turbines planted across a vast swathe of one of Asia's poorest countries. The 950 million monsoon wind power project whirred into commercial operation at the end of August, built by the Power Construction Corporation of China, or Power China, and run by a Thai-led consortium. Monsoon is expected to save more than 32 million tons of carbon emissions over the next 25 years. All the electricity it generates, however, will be sold across the border to Vietnam, a deal that bolsters Laos's role as the battery of Southeast Asia, even as it brings limited benefits to the people of Dak Trung. What the fuck are you talking about? What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Hi, you're going to build this really powerful network of wind turbines that provides millions of tons of carbon dioxide emission reduction while providing millions of dollars of revenue. For months, the elder would have seen the turbines and their 270-foot long blades hauled slowly up the road at night. Born in a distant village, and he said had no electricity. The old man was awestruck by the size of the Chinese-made turbines. Their exact purpose, though, eluded him. I see them, but I'm sorry, I don't know what they're used for. If you guys don't see how America is just pure evil, I don't know what else to say. Wind turbine blades and other parts of a French factory are stored at a former French airfield. See, that was the good old days when the French were using it for imperial. Guys, you see, American bombs and French bombers used to be at this airfield, but now it's Chinese wind turbines. That's pretty much the same thing. It's neo-imperialism, guys. Is the electricity going to China? No, it's going to Vietnam. If somebody tells you that China is doing imperialism, I want you to block that person. I don't even want you to debate them. I just want you to block them and go, oh, yeah, okay. CIA leftist approved. See, if you were normal, you would look at this and go, wow, this is amazing. Thank God China is rising, because instead of doing imperialism like the West, they're helping develop these countries and building up green energy infrastructure, which our planet desperately needs to avoid catastrophic climate change. Thank God China is showing what a benevolent hegemon might look like. That's just one perspective, right? That's the correct perspective, but that's one perspective. This perspective is, they're doing imperialism. Look at the way the blades of the wind turbines are in the sky. That's like when America dropped millions of bombs. The first wind farm in Laos hardly stands out amid China's clean energy revolution. I mean, like, this is the most powerful praise I could even imagine. I can't imagine something more important than this happening right now that's positive. Like, this is the most powerfully good statement I've ever seen, and they're going to try to spin it as bad? But it illuminates how the world's most prolific producer of greenhouse gases has come to dominate the global trade in renewable energy. They have the largest population, or our second largest population, motherfucker. Of course they're going to produce greenhouse gases, but they're working to stop it. They're working to go net zero by 2060. Like, what the fuck are you talking about? And they're actually doing it. It's not an empty promise. They're building trillions of dollars of renewable energy, hydro, wind, solar, and nuclear. Meanwhile, the United States is drilling more and opening up coal plants to power fucking AI data centers. Like, what are you talking about? Like, this is just stupid. China's investment in clean tech, 625 billion in 2024. 625 billion. That's like a Pentagon budget, except they're putting it in green energy. According to the International Energy Agency, have fueled a staggering transformation. China now produces 2/3 of the world's electric vehicles, 60% of its wind turbines, 85% of its battery capacity. Last year, the IEA predicted that China's export of clean energy technology in 10 years will reach 340 billion annually, roughly the same as current oil exports from Saudi Arabia and the UAE combined. This is good, you fucking idiots. This is good, you fucking moron. Yes, yelling makes your point more. Don't you want to yell? Don't you want to yell? Aren't you fucking losing it? The world's two superpowers are speeding in opposite directions as America abandons its commitment to wind, solar, and electric vehicles. The Trump administration's so-called Big Beautiful Bill slashes support for all three. China is strengthening its hold over nearly every link in the supply chains for renewable energy. What they mean by strengthening its hold is actually doing it and actually investing in it. There are tectonic shifts underway in clean energy that cut to the core of the great power competition between the US and China. I'm sorry, chat, but if you want America to win based on what we're doing, you are an evil piece of shit. Now, I'm not saying that I want America to be dominated or fall or anything like that. I'm an American. I want my life to be good. I want my country to be well run and peaceful. But if America is building coal plants and China is building wind turbines, I'm sorry, but we have to lose, because if we don't lose, the planet will be destroyed. Says Milo McBride, a clean energy expert at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. So whenever you hear the phrase of the name of an oligarch and then something that sounds nice, just understand that that is actually the opposite of what it does. The Musk endowment for peace and love is the Musk endowment for war and death, or war and hate. Okay, So the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace is the Carnegie Endowment for American domination. The U.S. is doubling down on its position as the largest oil and gas producer and exporter across the Pacific. China is expanding its prowess as the world's manufacturer and exporter of clean energy technologies of the future. The changes inside China are vital for the planet, but what is happening outside its borders and the proliferation of China's clean energy exports may have a more enduring impact on the climate and geopolitics. Hey, dumb fuck! We all need to go to zero carbon emissions, not just China. For the longest time, these right-wing scum were like, we shouldn't do anything about climate change because China's not going to. So what's the point? Because if we cut our emissions, China won't, and the climate will still be destroyed. So we're just hamstringing ourselves with green energy technology that's too expensive. Then China actually goes all in, spends the trillions of dollars and makes green energy cheap. And you know what our reaction is? Oh my God, China's dominating clean energy. We don't want to be dependent upon China. Let's put tariffs on the cheap green energy. Let's make it impossible to buy. Meanwhile, our fucking electricity bills are skyrocketing. We have the worst leaders on the planet. I'm sorry for yelling again, but like, what can you even say? What can you even say? The flood of relatively low-cost Chinese green technology now reaches at nearly every corner of the world. Sleek new Chinese electric vehicles fill the streets of Bangkok, Sao Paulo, and Addis Ababa. This is Ethiopia, chat. Ethiopia was invaded by Italy during fascism because Ethiopia was the last African nation that had not been colonized. So in order for Italy to feel like they have some big dick, they invaded Ethiopia in 36. So this is like, there's a few places on earth that managed to resist colonialism. Persia is like, I think they were like the only one. Who else didn't get colonized, chat? Thailand? Yeah, Thailand too. Nepal, yeah. Nepal. Well, I mean, Nepal was kind of conquered by nationalist Chinese and the Qing dynasty. Okay, there, I can say it. Jesus Christ. Pronouncing non-English words. Chinese-built solar panels blanket the sun-drenched cities of Pakistan and the 13,000-foot Altiplano of Argentina. Wind farms with towering Chinese turbines dot the narrow coast of Bosnia, the plains of Kenya, and of course the highlands of southern Laos. Last year, astonishingly, China exported clean energy technology to 191 of the 192 other UN member states. I mean, this is what it looks like when you're the good guy. I'm sorry. I mean, I am sorry to inform you, but this is what it looks like when you're the good guys. I'm sorry. This is what it looks like when you are the solution to the problem. I mean, there's no other way to spin it. The only country not on the list, the Central African Republic. Oh, I wonder why. Offices under construction for the Monsoon wind power project between the main camp and the Dokdor village in Laos. Look at this. I mean, these are... China is legitimately the good guys. I don't know how else to say it. When you do mutually beneficial trade with countries and you improve their development and their infrastructure, that's being a good guy. That's not imperialism. Imperialism is when you dominate a society and you extract from it and you don't give anything back. Mutual trade is called being the good guy. Regardless of the motivations at play, Chinese manufacturers selling off their excess capacity. Does anyone believe that the world is too rich? Does anyone believe that humanity is too well off? Does anyone believe that humanity as a whole has too much stuff? Raise your hand if you think that. Raise your hand in the chat if you think, yeah, we don't need any more development. America, every human being on this planet is doing great, and we're honestly just being greedy. Does anybody think that? If you think that, you're stupid as fuck. There's billions of people that are barely surviving. They don't have clean water. They have parasites throughout their body. They are desperate for food. They make almost nothing. Like, no, humanity is poor and wretched. And the thing is, being poor and wretched actually harms the economy, because when you're poor and wretched, you're desperate. So what do? You go and cut down trees for cooking fuel and heat. You kill wildlife for bushmeat because you're starving. Like, no, being poor and wretched is bad. Less developed nations seeking a cheaper route to energy security. These exports are already taking a bite out of global carbon emissions. So in other words, China is saving the world, literally, from climate change. China's clean tech exports in 2024 alone will represent a 1% reduction in global emissions outside of China. Put another way, the rapid expansion of Chinese clean energy exports will help forestall the emissions of 220 million metric tons of carbon in a single year, roughly equivalent to the annual emissions from 50 million cars. This is huge, says Miley Verda, CREA's co-founder and lead analyst before adding, but it's much less than is needed to meet the goals of the Paris Agreement. Yes, no fucking shit. A quarter century ago, the pillars of Chinese export economy were known as the old three: clothing, furniture, and home appliances. Now there are the new three: solar EVs and lithium-ion batteries, and maybe a fourth in wind turbines. China's interest in clean energy began as a hedge against its heavy reliance on oil, much of which delivered through the strategic vulnerable Strait of Malacca. Okay, so if you don't know naval strategy, chat, now I know this is very cringe. People don't know this about me because I don't advertise it, but I have studied military doctrine and strategy. It's one of my many academic. But in the Navy, in naval doctrine, not in Hoi 4, at the United States, at the United States Air Force Academy. Anyway, okay, moving on. Not up for Hoi 4. And in the Strait of Malacca, there's a bunch of strategically important straits in the world. We're talking about the Bering Strait. We're talking about the Strait of Malacca. We're talking about the Suez Canal. These are various straits, global trade weak points, and vulnerability where a large portion of global trade passes through. The Strait of Malacca is a strait that is very important for China from getting oil exports and other exports from the Middle East. And so China is strategically vulnerable if the strait was cut off. It would severely hamper their economy because they were reliant on energy imports like oil. But as early as 2010, a group of Chinese leaders and scholars began to see clean energy as a once-in-a-generation opportunity for economic growth and geopolitical clout, as well as energy security. Now, America did the same thing at the same time. We were talking about, I don't know if you guys aren't old enough to remember, but in the late 90s and early 2000s, they used to talk about energy independence. America needs energy independence because, again, before your time in the 70s and in the Bush administration, there was a squeeze put on the U.S. by oil exporters, and it caused oil prices to skyrocket, right? And it crushed the American economy. Once during the Arab oil embargo during Carter, and another time during the Bush administration during the global Great Recession that was also fomented by oil prices rising to $150 a barrel. And so the United States was heavily vulnerable to the global price of oil. And so every president was campaigning on, oh, we're going to get energy independence. And that energy independence eventually came for the United States, which was what we were before Carter. The U.S. used to be the world's oil well. And then with Carter, we had peak conventional oil, and then we became an oil importer, and then we became strategically vulnerable. Well, during the Bush administration and the Obama administration, America developed new technologies to get tighter and deeper oil and gas things that you've now heard called fracking. Fracking is a technology. There was also something developed to extract heavy crude from Canadian tar sand. Okay, so America developed this is called tight oil and tight gas. So technology for deep lying oil and gas. And so we were able to become oil and gas exporters again. We had a bumper crop of oil. And so we got energy independence. When you consider the North American market of Canada, the United States, and Mexico, we produce more energy than we consume. All right, great. So now we have energy independence. China doesn't have that kind of opportunity. The only energy resources that China has is coal. And I don't know if you noticed this, chat, but coal is really bad for the environment. So while China was developing their industry, they were also developing their coal, but it was causing massive pollution problems. And because of climate change, it's not sustainable unless the planet's going to get cooked. And so China was like, all right, we're relying on foreign energy. We can't use coal. That's what we have domestically. We need to go all in on nuclear fusion and green energy technology so that we could get our energy to zero carbon emission. And there was a global consensus, and this is where China makes a mistake. China goes to the United Nations and they actually believe it. Like, they look at what the scientists are saying and they go, oh, we need to stop climate change. Okay, well, we better invest trillions of dollars in stopping climate change because climate change is real. Because they're not being bribed by oil fucking barons to be corrupt pieces of shit. They look at the science because they're all engineers. All the leaders at the highest levels of the Chinese government have PhDs in engineering, okay? We're talking, so these are real intelligent people. And they looked at the science and they go, okay, this is two birds, one stone. We'll give ourselves energy independence. We won't be so vulnerable to American imperialism. And we'll develop this green energy technology industry, which the rest of the world will need, and it'll help our economy grow. Win, win, win. We'll make ourselves safer militarily. We'll solve climate change, and we'll help grow our economy. That's amazing. And they fucking did it. And they're fucking doing it. Can you imagine having leaders in a government that actually just does common sense shit that makes sense? Now, Barack Obama also ran on the green energy, on green jobs and the green energy economy, except then he didn't do it because that would be socialist, guys. All he could do is give loans to Democratic connected charlatans. And then when their businesses go belly up because they're incompetent, because they haven't competed and actually succeeded, I guess we have to give up. Solyndra is it. That's our only try. And we gave a lot of money to Musk as well. Because in China, they do things differently. In China, they harness the market. In America, we bribe the market. The difference is this. China says, we want 600 solar panel companies. May the best solar panels companies win. In the United States, they say, you're going to be the solar panel company. Here's $100 trillion in loans from the government. So in China, the actually good solar company is selected after they prove themselves through vicious competition. In America, politically connected, corrupt people get all the money and they fail. That's the difference between our systems. In the West, the capitalists are in control of the government and the politicians. In the East, the Communist Party is in control of the government, and they execute billionaires who are corrupt. In America, we give extra money to corrupt billionaires. So that's why our system is losing. China's willingness to let companies fail in droves creates real social costs, says Gernot Wagner, a climate economist at Columbia Business School, but it works to create global champions that dominate the market. Della Forge at Planet A Ventures says, seeing how far China takes corporate Darwinism was a revelation. Only the strongest players survive. So in China, they have vicious competition among the capitalists, which the capitalists fucking hate, by the way. And then the government comes in, and after a corporation has succeeded and proves itself to be the best of the best, the government takes half of the company over and goes, this is now owned by the government for the people. I mean, like, I'm sorry, but we cannot compete with that. We're gonna lose. Like, it's already fucking Jover. This is a new Bloomberg article from China yesterday. China road trip exposes list of uninvestable assets in the West. Venture capitalists from Western firms have visited China and seen firsthand the country's dominance in clean tech sectors such as battery and energies. VCs say China's advances have made it difficult for Western startups to compete, and some have decided to halt investment in certain sectors or look for ways to collaborate with Chinese firms. China's dominance in clean tech is attributed to its prioritization of energy security, willingness to let companies fail, and ability to rapidly onshore entire supply chains, making it challenging for Western companies to catch up. Socialism won. For 600 years, the project of the West was to contain China. Because through most of human history, and most of recorded human civilization, China was the center of the world. It was the most developed, richest country by far. And in the last 600 years, containing China was the goal of the West. Tearing pieces off of it, treaty ports, forcing opium down their throats, dominating them with colonialism and imperialism. And because of the Cold War, Nixon has made the biggest mistake in human history for capitalists. Thank you, Richard Nixon. Because of great power competition between the Soviet Union and China, Nixon lifted the embargo and the domination of China and allowed China to gain access to the world market and allowed China to develop and trade with Western world. And now China has reached breakout speed. It's too fucking late. It's too fucking late. The Chinese superpower is here. It's over for the West. Thank fucking God we were terrible. Dengism won. Although I would say it's Xi Jinping. Xi Jinping was the man of the moment. When we were living in Star Trek world and the United Federation of Planets, and we look back on 21st century history, they're going to say that Xi Jinping was the man of the moment and that Donald Trump heralded the end of Western domination. We weren't familiar. Honestly, like, I understand why a lot of leftists were very skeptical of Dengism. I still am skeptical of Dengism. I don't think Dengism actually works without Xi Jinping. I think Dengism collapses into a Soviet-style failure without Xi. I think Xi actually saved it. So it's really Xi Jinping thought. Venture capitalists and clean tech are starting to say out loud what they suspected for a while. China's dominance has left key sectors in the West uninvestable. That means they're throwing in the towel on green energy. They've given up. When China's clean energy companies first looked to foreign markets more than a decade ago, their main targets were Europe and the United States. The financial crisis and rising protectionism, especially the United States, forced a radical shift in that approach. Chinese companies moved some factories overseas to evade tariffs, making solar panels in Indonesia. Even as they scoured the world for new markets, the mentality of China's companies is global. In the case of Chinese solar firms, they first look outside for export-led growth, and then, after costs have come down, they saturated their own market. With prices plunging because of overproduction in China, the cost of solar panels has dropped 50% in the past 2 years. This is what we needed. This is a good thing! You worthless American slugs! You slime bags! You fucking pieces of shit! This is good, you fucking idiots! You stupid pieces of subhuman garbage! God damn it, I hate this country sometimes! What the fuck is going on with your brains, man? Why is everyone so stupid in this country? Why is this country so stupid? There has been no shortage of countries lining up for Chinese clean tech. One side effect, China doesn't depend on American consumers. According to Miley Verta, only 4% of its wind, solar, and EV exports go to the United States. It's a market where global sales volumes are growing 30% a year. The U.S. is a footnote. God, we're such a fucking loser country. God, we're such losers. 30% a year. Holy fuck. Imagine if capitalists actually cared about reality and they were investing in these companies. Instead, Tesla is going skyrocketing. I need to sell my dollars, man. I need to get out of the dollar. I gotta get out of the dollar, dude. The US is fucked. I gotta save my money in a different currency, because no fucking way is the US dollar is fucking collapsing, by the way. Did you guys see that? Mike was right again. US dollar is having its worst year ever. Oh, here it is. Thank you so much. The US dollar is having its worst year in decades. Yet so many people from around the world still want to live here. Yes, because we're coasting on the accomplishments of FDR 100 fucking years ago. And a lot of the world sucks shit even worse because of our domination and imperialism. But it's falling apart because dipshits keep voting for the dumbest evil rats who want to cut taxes for the rich. Did you see that they want to raise the retirement age and Social Security? You see how they're ripping apart Medicare and Medicaid? We can't even get health care in this country. We can't build a goddamn road. I went on a 2.5 mile walk yesterday, chat. And I was so fucking disgusted with my country. I was spitting. The roads are in terrible shape. The sidewalks are filthy. There's fucking trash everywhere. There's so many abandoned buildings. I didn't see a business that wasn't going out of it. And it was a nice area. I mean, it's just, this country is in dire straits and people are completely delusional about it. All right, let's finish this section of the stream because, this is stuff. This is the Mike from PA shit where this is what I'm interested in, chat. Look at this, chat. Look at how awesome China is. They're putting solar panels on thatched roofed huts. Yo, Giga Chad. The most explosive growth is happening in developing nations. Over the past 4 years, they have driven 70% of China's export growth in solar, wind, and EVs. Last year, for the first time, nearly half of China's solar, wind, and EV exports went to developing nations. Guys, did you know if China was allowed to import cars to our country, you could get a really nice car for 10 grand? That's what Donald Trump is stopping you from doing. You understand that, right? You could get a really nice EV for 10 grand. And a fucking supercar for 50 grand or 60 grand. So Biden and Trump together have prevented you from having massive price decreases in vehicles. And they also have hybrids too. If you're well, Mike, I don't want to go to 100% EV. We're talking about really good plug-in hybrids as well. And while some clean tech companies in China might not survive the cutthroat competition and collapsing prices, these export trends are forecast to accelerate. In 3 years, Chinese products will be entering new countries at speeds and scales we haven't seen yet. For all its dominance, China has struggled to turn clean tech into soft power. That's because the United States of America dominates elites. All the elites of Europe are American broke boy cucks. So Europeans have a lot of pride, unearned pride, because you are all our footstools. Same thing with Canadians. You guys are nothing but Americans' footstools, and you could be mad at me all you want. I'm telling you this so you get pissed off at your leaders. Stop getting mad at me, you fucking Euro cucks, and stand up to us, for God's sake. Will you stand up to us? Jesus Christ. You fucking losers. To effect this kind of alchemy, some advocates are urging Beijing to initiate a green Marshall Plan modeled on the aid program the United States implemented in Europe after World War II. So far, though, Beijing is taking a narrower, more nationalistic approach. Chinese firms, for the most part, have shown more interest in offloading profits and cornering markets than in helping countries build their own clean tech economies. Chinese companies are going where the demand is. They're not primarily choosing countries based on diplomatic aims. So, okay, if China was doing it, then it would be a nefarious plot. And because they're not, well, they're just greedy. They're greedy nationalists. So if they, wait a minute. So damned if you do, damned if you don't. It's not, by the way, this isn't even an L for China. This is true. This is just bullshit. This is just propaganda. They're just doing propaganda. That's all this is. This is literally propaganda. How you know? It's a quote from Joanna Lewis. This is propaganda, guys. For countries like Laos, with its crumbling finances, clean energy project from China can be irresistible. They offer a cheap alternative to fossil fuels, an affordable way to take on climate change, and a chance to gain energy security in a volatile world. But beyond this promise lies the peril of dependence. Sure, I have this panacea that will cure all your diseases, but then you'll be dependent on me for the panacea. Wouldn't you rather have your cancer? Ryan, kill me! Laos, in many ways, has become the test case in countries trying to walk the tightrope with China. How can they benefit from the clean energy on offer without becoming so reliant on China? So mired in debt that they can't stand up on their own. The question reverberates in the mountains of southern Laos, where the indigenous Triang people now share their homeland with the whirling turbines of Southeast Asia's largest wind farm. China's efficiency is palpable in Laos, a poor landlocked communist nation that Joshua Kurlansnik of the Council on Foreign Relations called a satellite state of China. Powered China built the entire monsoon project in just 27 months. In a stretch of mountainous terrain 12 times the size of Manhattan. Before the company broke ground, bomb removal squads scoured the area for unexploded ordnance from the Vietnam War. I can't believe China is evilly building wind turbines and removing the bombs we left 50 fucking years ago. How evilly are they removing the bombs that are killing kids every day? Do you know that that still happens in Laos? That kids are still killed with unexploded ordnance from the Vietnam War? Across roads built along the forested ridges so Chinese-made turbines could make the long journey up to the high plateau. Working straight through the monsoon season with its rain and high winds, the company faced engineering challenges along with more delicate complexities of dealing with indigenous local population on whose sacred ground it was treading. Guys, please leave the unexploded American bombs in the sacred ground or you're being a little bit problematic. I could almost hear the anarchists pounding on the screen right now because they want to chat, but they've been banned. And they want to be like, I can't believe you're celebrating Chinese imperialism, Mike. They can't. They're banned. They're pounding on their monitor. Oh, it's problematic, Mike. Oh! Their CIA handler texting them. Spurred by Beijing to go global, Power China has built renewable energy projects around the world. Geothermal in Indonesia, hydropower in Nigeria, solar in Chile, wind in Pakistan. Nowhere is the company more deeply embedded, however, than in Laos. Over the past 3 decades, it's been involved in more than 150 projects in the country, including $6 billion Laos-China Railway and a 2.7 billion cascade of hydroelectric dams on a tributary to the Mekong River. These hydropower projects provoke public discontent for damaging the environment and displacing indigenous inhabitants from more than 100 villages. Oh my God, those evil bastards! They built a dam and the indigenous inhabitants were removed. Like, this is CIA. Oh my God, CIA, 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 CIA. Boop, 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 boop. Did the handler give you this talking point directly? Because I don't see it being cited to anything. I don't see you citing it to anything. So this must go directly out of the CIA press release. Power China is almost single-handedly responsible for establishing Laos's identity as Southeast Asia's battery. 3/4 of the country's generated electricity, most of which comes from hydroelectric dams, is now sold to its neighbors, including Thailand, Cambodia, and Singapore. So if you were normal, you would look at this and go, wow, that's really awesome. A country with low electricity demand, but high renewable energy potential is now generating a lot of money for its economy by selling that electricity to other places where renewable energy generation is more difficult or complex or lower potential. Wow, this is really efficient and awesome. This is the future of green energy in our interconnected world. That's what you would say if you were sane. But if you're an American imperialist, this is bad for some reason. Honest to God, I can't stand this country's elite. This country's elite deserves everything that's coming for it, and I promise to help. The Monsoon Power Project sells 100% of its electricity to Vietnam through a 44-mile transmission line across the border. The Laos government will receive foreign currency from the deal through royalty fees, but here's the rub. In 2021, to cancel a portion of its debt, Laos handed over 90% of its national power grid to a Chinese state-owned company, putting China in charge of all electricity flowing at both domestic and international consumers such as Vietnam. Wait a minute. Wait a minute. This is something the United States does every single year. What the fuck are you talking about? We do this all the time. We did it in Ukraine. Following the 2020 Russian invasion, Ukraine launched a significant privatization program to fund its military and stabilize its economy. A move supported by international finance institutions. International partners, including the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank, have encouraged Ukraine to accelerate reforms with privatizations as a key element. I'm losing my voice. I want you to know that this article is a CIA cutout. This is CIA propaganda, by the way. So far, these foreign deals have not alleviated debt or poverty in Laos, where average rural income is estimated to be around $18 a month. Even if official corruption can be avoided, analysts say a good portion of Laos's energy revenues ends up servicing the country's ballooning external debt. The infrastructure project meant to bolster the economy have saddled Laos with $10 billion in external debt, around half of which is owned to China. Wait a minute. So half of the debt is not Chinese? But the Chinese have built a lot of great projects. What have our debt given them? Whether the Laos government is not only unable to repay its debt to China, it struggles even to make its interest payments. Whether by design or neglect, China has created a debt trap in Laos called the Laos Institute. Laos is the founder of the Laos Institute, Australia's leading foreign affairs think tank, which has been described as neoliberal, center-right, or reactionary. He's also the chairman of the Institute for National Security Studies, an independent think tank that studies key issues relating to Israel's national security and Middle East affairs. So it's a Zionist capitalist. Wouldn't be the New York crimes without Zionist propaganda and lies. They usually write off that. China has never, ever, not once, put a country into financial distress because of its debt. Every single time, China has reorganized the debt. Every single time. It's actually just a lie. At this point, if you say China debt trap, you're a fucking liar. And not only that, I mean, it's admitted. Like, this isn't my opinion. This is the official opinion of Bloomberg. The myth of Chinese debt trap in Africa. Beijing has built huge infrastructure projects all across the continent, making some Western powers uncomfortable. But all is not as it seems. They do not do debt trap diplomacy. That's what we do. It's a total fucking lie. They're making it up. Even under the most optimistic scenarios, Laos cannot escape the crisis in the absence of substantial debt relief, which China will immediately give them. China's operational takeover of the national power grid, which went into effect last year, seemed almost inevitable, given that the grid was largely built by Chinese firms with Chinese financing using Chinese technology. Our China, which did not respond to requests for an interview, is pressuring Laos to pay its debts. This year, a company subsidiary sued South State Utility for $555 million in unpaid bills from its hydroelectric projects. What other state assets will Laos have to hand over if it can't come up with the cash? The wind farm will not deepen Laos's debt. The Laos government is not party to any loans, nor does it have any ownership stake in the project. Power China is not the owner either. The Lao government may earn only $100 million, mostly in royalties and taxes over the next 25 years, he says. It's better than debt. And the wind farm, Bokajor believes, shows the Laos government something more valuable, a path to clean energy. And Laos's goal of cutting emissions to 60% by 2030, with a far lighter impact than an old standby like hydropower. Wind power, in fact, is gushing hard in Laos. A wind farm with more than double the capacity of Monsoon is under construction north of Dak Chung. And Bokajorn says another project still in the planning stages will be built alongside the wind farm in Dak Chung. Monsoon is preparing to be in the area for the next quarter century. Bomb removal squads have already swept the hills for unexploded ordnance. In a large red dirt lot down the road from Foreign Main Camp, men and women in Power China helmets have begun construction on a 2-story office complex that will serve as a new base of operations. It won't be long, it seems, before another flood of workers arrives, many of them Chinese, to erect more monuments to the wind. China portrays its embrace of renewable energy as a reflection of its concern for ecological civilization. Globalizing that commitment has been a conscious effort. No matter how the international situation changes, President Xi said in April, China will not slow down in its efforts to address climate change. Okay, guys, Xi Jinping said something that not only is lip service, but is actually happening in the real world. Let me tell you why it's bad. For all the seeming altruism, China's pivot toward clean energy development has been driven by its own needs for energy security, economic growth, and geopolitical advantage. Guys, I can't believe China is doing something that's good for the world that also benefits them. They should only do good things that don't benefit anyone. How dare they? They should be dependent on Middle East oil forever. Alex Wang, a law professor at the University of California, Los Angeles, and the author of the forthcoming book, Chinese Global Environmentalism, notes how China's green energy statecraft balances global concerns and nationalistic self-interest. China was able to find a dynamic that dovetails well with the Paris Agreement, but is also very effective in achieving all these other national security goals. Wow, they don't want to be cut off from oil by the United States Navy. How evil of them. If this is a global competition, what happens when one side, the United States, abandons the field? By phasing out tax credits and incentives for solar, wind, and EVs, the Trump administration has already torpedoed tens of billions of dollars of planned clean energy investments and set back renewables in the U.S. for years, perhaps even a generation, strictly in terms of U.S. and China competition. That is a massive own goal, Miley Verta says. The starkest contrast came in last August when the U.S. government halted construction of an almost completed $4 billion wind farm off the coast of Rhode Island on the same day that the Monsoon Wind Power Project began commercial operations. Trump isn't simply surrendering clean energy industry as America's biggest rival. He's relinquishing to China a global leadership on climate issues. In Beijing, some influential voices believes this is a perfect moment for China to intensify green energy statecraft. Yes! Please! Please, China! Please! Save the fucking world! We're not gonna do it! We're evil! Please do it! Jesus Christ! Until now, the global expansion of green technology has been led mainly by Chinese enterprises searching for markets that could absorb their excess manufacturing capacity, not by premeditated global strategy to build soft power. Most of China's exports, moreover, have been the sales of equipment or construction services, not the deeper transfer of technological know-how or manufacturing experience. Still, some analysts believe there are benefits in keeping China's influence in the realm of business, not politics. As Javier Boras of the Barcelona Center for International Affairs has written, China is managing to create a new kind of green soft power that doesn't need Beijing's stultifying propaganda. Stultifying propaganda. As your job is writing, okay, is this another right-wing think tank? Is this another neoliberal think tank? Okay, so this is like center-left think tank. This is like a Soros think tank. Yeah, okay. So this is like a Soros-aligned think tank. Okay, that's surprising. But a haphazard approach, well, by the way, the center-left still hates China. But a haphazard approach, soft power by accident, as it were, is not enough to drive the world's low-carbon transition. A 2023 UN report laid out the challenge starkly. Developing countries need 1.7 trillion in renewable energy investments every year to move toward their climate goals. But they received only 544 billion in foreign direct investment the year before. According to Huang, only China has the expertise, financing, and productive capacity to fill the gap. By sharing these tools, China could drive global green development, boost its own economy, and strengthen its international leadership all at the same time. I mean, I agree. Creating a green Marshall Plan would be the ultimate expression of soft power, but Beijing seems reluctant to make that commitment. It doesn't help that China is still hooked on coal and oil and is responsible for 90% of the growth of CO2 emissions since 2015. Even so, China could benefit from thinking smaller by exporting products like cheap solar water heaters that are ubiquitous in the Chinese countryside. If China were really into soft power and pushing South-South climate cooperation, you'd think it would be all over exporting things like that to poorer countries. That would unlock such great development benefits, yet what ends up happening is often very high-tech, flashy, modern projects. China's really missing a trick in terms of soft power. Okay, so these people are like, no, China, build factories in other countries. Stop being so powerful. That's what they're mainly talking about. Okay. All right, what else are we going to say? Out on the next road, a barefoot woman in her early 20s was managing her family's open-air convenience store as clients sat at a wooden table perched on beer crates. Asked if the Monsoon Project had brought changes to the village, she pointed out to the old boarded-up wooden house next door. The shop used to be there, she said, but business was so good, we built this new one. The new cement building boasts whitewashed walls and linoleum tiles, along with a new refrigerator and freezer. Chinese workers often stop by on their way up and down the road. They only buy Pepsi and sweets, she said. The real uptick in business came from local villagers, many of them subsistence farmers receiving cash wages for the first time. All conversation stopped as three massive trucks rumbled past. They were carrying bauxite from a nearby mine that was destined for Vietnam and ultimately China. A Power China SUV rolled by, followed by a Land Cruiser with the logo of a Norwegian aid group with the American flag sticker. These were bomb removal experts who, more than 50 years after the last American bomb fell, were surveying the area for unexploded ordnance. They won't finish anytime soon. The USAID program that funded efforts like theirs was eliminated this year. For now, though, she had a simpler ambition. After meeting some Chinese engineers and seeing what power China had done, bringing cutting-edge technology to an undeveloped highland, she was keen to learn the language. I want to learn Chinese, she said, if somebody could teach me. They're so fucking mad. They're so fucking mad. No comments allowed. China's building wind turbines that kill all the birds. They're killing the birds. I love that America's falling apart. That's fucking awesome, dude.